We're about to meet 4 people, each from a totally different decade with a completely unique financial story. But here's the thing, they all fell for the exact same trap. And it's a trap you might just recognize in your own life.
So here's the big idea for this whole explainer. What if I told you that the financial pressures on a boomer, a Gen Xer, a millennial, and a Gen Z kid aren't actually that different? What if it's all just the same fundamental mistake, just wearing a different outfit?
All right, let's meet our crew. We've got Robert, who from the outside looked like he had it all figured out. There's Karen, with a great career and what seems like a really comfortable life. Then there's Marcus, who was told his whole life to value experiences over assets. And finally, Zoe, probably the most financially literate 24-year-old her family has ever seen. Okay, so to really understand this trap, we first have to get the unwritten rules of each era. See, every generation has what we'll call a signal of arrival. It's like a cultural shorthand for what it means to be successful. Let's kick things off with the boomers. For Robert's generation, this was it, the house. It was everything. After watching their own parents rent, owning a home became this non-negotiable symbol of success. So when Robert was able to get a mortgage for the biggest house he could possibly qualify for, you bet he took it. Of course he did. That was the move you were supposed to make. And let's be super clear here, the house itself wasn't the mistake. I mean, on paper, Robert is wealthy. The trap was locking his entire net worth inside those 4 walls. All his energy, all his extra money, it went into maintaining the signal, the perfect house, the perfect garden, while he was accidentally underfunding the substance, like a properly diversified pension. Okay, now let's move on to Karen and see how this trap evolved for Gen X. For them, the signal of arrival was a little quieter, you know? It was a series of small, totally reasonable upgrades. They earned more than their parents, and with each raise, life just expanded to match. A nicer car, a slightly bigger house, a fancy overseas holiday. This right here is the textbook definition of lifestyle creep. And each one of those decisions made perfect sense on its own. The problem, Karen's savings rate barely budged for years. The gap between what came in and what went out stayed pretty much the same, just with bigger numbers. She looked successful, for sure, but her actual financial foundation was way shakier than it should have been. Now we get to Marcus, the millennial. And for his generation, the system genuinely felt rigged. I mean, the 2008 crisis made traditional assets, like buying a house, feel almost impossible. So a totally new signal of arrival popped up, and the entire culture backed it up. The lived life. We're talking travel, amazing restaurants, concerts, you name it. And this version of the trap was so sneaky because it felt like wisdom, right? It wasn't really about the experiences themselves. It was about an entire industry telling Marcus this was the enlightened way to spend your money. He was busy racking up incredible memories, but he wasn't racking up assets. The signal of success became a full passport instead of a full portfolio. And finally, we have Zoe. Now, Gen Z is probably the most financially literate generation we've ever had. They know what index funds are when they're 19, but their trap is maybe the most visible one yet because it lives online. The signal of arrival for them isn't an asset or even an experience, it's an aesthetic. It's all about how things look on camera. And here's the paradox. Zoe might have a brokerage account, which is awesome, but she might also be spending 4 times that amount on things whose main purpose is how they're gonna look on her social media feed. The trap isn't ignorance, it's performing wealth instead of actually building it. Okay, so you're seeing the pattern, right? Robert's house, Karen's lifestyle, Marcus's travels, Zoe's aesthetic, they're all just different costumes for the exact same character. It's time we put a name to this trap. This is it. This is the one mistake repeated over and over for 4 generations. It's the gap between looking wealthy and being wealthy. The signal is what you project to the world. The substance, that's the cold, hard number in your account. Okay, but what does this actually look like in practice? How does chasing the signal quietly sabotage your actual wealth? Let's run some of the real numbers. First, let's be crystal clear on what we mean by substance. It's your net worth. That is the only number that really, truly matters. A high income can create a fantastic signal, it can make you look rich, but it has absolutely nothing to do with your actual wealth until you use it to build up your assets. This slide shows the trap in action perfectly. Just look at this car example. Jake focuses on the signal, that really attractive low $299 monthly payment.
Marcus, on the other hand, focuses on substance. He wants ownership. Now look, over 10 years, their total cost is almost identical, but Jake ends up with absolutely nothing, while Marcus has an asset worth $4,000 to $6,000. Chasing the low payment, the signal, literally cost Jake thousands. And it's the exact same story with housing, just on a much bigger scale. Jake focuses on the signal, a lower rent payment right now. Marcus focuses on substance, building equity over time. Now fast forward and look at the 30-year outcome. Marcus owns his home outright. His mortgage payment is completely gone. Jake is still writing a rent check to a landlord, and that check is now over $3,300 a month. That single decision created a massive, life-changing wealth gap.
So if that's the trap, how do we get out? Well, the good news is that people from every single one of these generations have figured it out, and they all followed the same really simple rule. It really is this simple. You delay the costume, you make a conscious decision to look a little less wealthy than you actually are so that your actual wealth can grow even faster. And it's not forever, just until your assets are doing the heavy lifting for you. And here are those specific fixes. Robert should have split his focus between the house and his pension. Karen needed to let her income grow way faster than her lifestyle. Marcus could absolutely still travel, but he could invest the difference from the trips he decided to skip. And Zoe? She just needs to make the number in her investment account the real priority, not the aesthetic she's building online. Look, this is not about deprivation. It's not about never having nice things. It's just about sequencing. You build the substance first, and then you let the substance pay for the signal. It's the huge difference between funding your lifestyle with a paycheck versus funding it with your assets. And all of this brings us to the final question, and I want you to genuinely sit with this for a second. Which version of this trap are you in? Is it the house that's holding all your net worth hostage? Is it the lifestyle that seems to expand with every single raise? Is it the experiences that are replacing the act of building? Or is it the aesthetic that performs wealth without actually creating it? You know, the first step out of any trap is just being able to name it.